For years, you asked yourself, how do I save more money? But now it's, how do I preserve my money? Someone's asking the right questions. And at Sandy Spring Trust, we'll answer them one-on-one. From asset management to legacy and estate planning, you can feel confident in what's to come. What's your next financial destination? Visit sandyspringbank.com/wealth. Wealth and insurance products are not FDIC insured, not guaranteed, and may lose value. Wealth products offered by Sandy Spring Trust, a division of Sandy Spring Bank.
Hey Slate listeners, I'm Christina Cauterucci, the host of Slow Burn, Gays Against Briggs. I want to tell you about a special event we're doing at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City on June 13th. To celebrate the new season of Slow Burn and Pride Month, we'll be hosting an exclusive taping of the show with special guests including Eric Marcus, the host of Making Gay History. We'll dive deeper into this season and talk about the lasting impact of the Briggs Initiative and the continued fight over LGBTQ rights in schools. Plus, we'll share some behind-the-scenes stories and never-before-aired tape from this season. It'll be the perfect way to celebrate Pride Month this June, with LGBTQ stories and voices across generations. You won't want to miss it. Again, that's June 13th at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City. You can get tickets now at tribecafilm.com/slowburn. Hope to see you there.
Welcome to Dear Prudence. I'm your Prudence, Jenée Desmond-Harris. Today we'll be giving advice on how to navigate dating across a 28-year age difference, when to confront someone who's been consistently flaky but also apologizes constantly, and whether to tell a friend it appears they peed their pants. Here to help me out is Emily McCombs. She's the deputy editor of HuffPost Personal. She writes and edits first-person essays on identity, love and relationships, sex, parenting, family, addiction, mental health, and body politics. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, Jenée. How are you?
I'm good. So I realized I didn't give you any parenting questions, even though you're a parenting advice columnist, but it's okay because you are an expert on everything. You have feelings about everything.
No, I'm an expert on everything. You got it right.
Okay. Okay, good. So you're qualified here. Before we get into them, I want to give you a chance to give one piece of unsolicited advice to our listeners.
So my first knee-jerk reaction to that question is to just go, dump him! Which is kind of a joke, but like really, I just think anything that was worn on a novelty tee in the early 2000s by Miss Britney Spears is just good advice.
Very good, yeah.
No, but for would you like to have a real one?
Well, first of all, dump him is amazing and probably like the most applicable advice you could give to the set of people writing into this column. And like I always say, I'm not allowed to just tell everyone to dump him because they pay me too much to just write dump him
then
in response to every letter. But yeah, I support you saying it. Okay, so we will go ahead and dive into your questions after a short break. Can't get enough Dear Prudence? Then you should definitely join Slate Plus, Slate's membership program. You'll get to hear me answer an extra question every week just for members. With your subscription, you get ad-free listening across the Slate network and unlimited reading on the Slate site, including all Dear Prudence columns, past and present. Go to slate.com/Prudie Plus to sign up. It's just $15 for your first 3 months. Again, that's slate.com/Prudie Plus. This episode is brought to you by Fail Better, David Duchovny's new podcast with Lemonada Media. On Fail Better, David, who's experienced both low and high profile failures throughout his life, explores the vast world of failure, how it holds us back, propels us forward, and ultimately shapes our lives. Each week, he'll chat with guests like Ben Stiller, Bette Midler, and more about how our perceived failures have actually been our biggest catalyst for growth, revelation, and even healing. Through these conversations, he hopes listeners can learn how to embrace the opportunity of failure and fail better together. Fail Better is out now, wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back. You're listening to Dear Prudence, and I'm here with Emily McCombs. Let's get started with our first letter. It's titled, Holding for Advice.
I recently went to brunch with a friend. We had a wonderful time, and because it was raining, I offered to drive them home. I dropped them off, and as usual, I watched them walk to their building to ensure they made it inside okay. As they walked away from the car, I noticed the back of their pants were soaked. The shape and saturation made it clear it was not from the rain, but from having an accident. I hesitantly touched my passenger seat and felt it was also wet. I am certain they peed their pants and have no idea whether I should bring it up to them or not. They have to know they peed their pants, right? I am more concerned about whether or not they know that other people can also clearly tell. This is not the first time this has happened. While out to dinner years ago, another mutual friend told me they had peed themselves. I didn't notice, and while I believed our mutual friend, I wasn't sure what to make of an adult, 30-something, having an accident in public. To my knowledge, it has never been discussed with them directly. I want to let them know it's okay to confide in close friends when this happens, and encourage them to seek medical treatment for incontinence and a potential undiagnosed UTI or other condition. Would talking to them about it actually help, or just make them feel ashamed?
I had to laugh at the evaluation of the shape and saturation. Like they did a whole scientific analysis to prove to us that this is a real thing. I believe it, letter writer. I believe it.
But that's the first question, right? Like, do you believe the friend peed themselves?
Yeah, well, I have to admit, it didn't occur to me to not believe it because this letter was so convincing. I think they peed themselves, especially because there's the other person making a similar report. So, yeah, do you, or do you think there something else could have happened?
I think they peed themselves.
Okay.
At least this time. I feel like the earlier report is a bit dubious.
Okay, fair. Even if they did, and I know the letter writer is coming from a really good place. I want to start with that. They obviously care about this person and are just feeling distressed that they may be walking around with this burden or this health condition and not getting help or support with it. But this isn't like a my friend stinks and has body odor situation where the friend may not be aware.
Right.
And it could be an act of kindness to gently bring it to their attention in a sensitive way. They definitely know. And I'm willing to bet that if this is a person who's peed their pants more than once, I mean, they're living in hell and obsessing over it. They're not clueless about what's going on here, right?
I agree 100%. I mean, my first thought was if this friend has a vagina, because it's a little unclear.
Mm-hmm.
If this friend has experienced childbirth, like what is the condition of friend's pelvic floor? That's the first thing I want to know.
Great question. Pelvic floors are so important.
Yeah, pelvic floors are really important. And I just think, like, for women I know of a certain age, especially ones who have given birth to a human, for which peeing your pants sometimes is just kind of part of life.
I didn't even think of that. In my mind, I was like, they have a mystery medical condition. But you're right. It could be, it could be something an everyday issue.
It could be. And it's like, you know, if peeing your pants from time to time is an occasional inevitability, I agree with you that there's no real scenario in which the person is just unaware that they peed their pants.
Mm-hmm.
And I really doubt that they need you to flag that issue for them. Like, they know they peed their pants. They didn't say anything because they feel ashamed.
Yeah, it could be they pee their pants regularly and they're wearing some kind of backup underwear. Depends situation. And in this situation, you were, let's see what happened. You went to brunch. We all know that can take 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, they might be drinking. We don't know.
Yeah, they might be drinking, and you're probably making them laugh a lot.
Yeah.
So they might have just not calculated the amount of backup absorption they needed.
I think they probably thought the rain had them covered.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, but I agree that I think bringing it up after the fact would be kind of like double shaming them for something that they're already ashamed of.
Yeah, I just can't imagine a situation where I've peed my pants and I can't figure out whether to seek medical help. And then my friend says, I noticed you peed your pants. And I'm going, you know what? I should go to a pelvic floor therapist or
thank you for the
go
awareness.
To an internist or whatever. Yeah, I don't see it improving the situation. But I will acknowledge that I can tell the letter writer is sort of perceiving or guessing that their friend is in some kind of distress or suffering embarrassment or suffering physically from something. And they want to be there for their friend. And it's frustrating to feel locked out of this, right?
Let me ask you this. If you were the friend and you wet your pants in your friend's car, would you tell your friend?
I think at this point in life, I would.
I agree.
Because I think as you get a little bit older, you sort of overcome a lot of shame and you start to see the value in being open with your friends and being vulnerable and transparent. But probably in my 20s, I wouldn't have. I think I would have just tried to hide it.
I think I would be really embarrassed, and I would hope that like an asteroid would just hit me before I had to say anything, and I would cease to exist. But I think I would overcome and tell my friend and offer probably to pay for cleaning or whatever is the appropriate gesture when you pee in someone's car.
Yeah.
And to me, like, that's kind of the bigger issue, because I'd be embarrassed. But also, if you can't tell your close friends you peed your pants, like, how close are you really?
Yeah. I do think there are a lot of people who keep everything really close to the vest, Like, if you haven't had one of those life experiences that makes you realize it's just easier to just tell the truth and talk about your messy, weird, gross stuff, and then other people will tell you yours, and it's a better way to live. I think there are a lot of people out there still pretending that nothing's wrong with them, even with their close friends.
I guess that's just my weird standard of friendship, where I only want friends I could tell if I peed in their car.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's actually, let's go back to your unsolicited advice. That's a really good one. You should have friends who you can tell that you peed in their car.
I
think that's
gone with
definitely
that.
the ideal. Yeah. So letter writer, you can't change this person and their relationship to their body and shame and privacy and whatever else. But again, I can tell that you care about them. I can tell that you want to be close to them. You want to support them. I don't think an intervention or a confrontation is the way to go. But if you want to get closer to that point, I think you could get there little by little by starting to share vulnerable things with them. All you can do is make it known that you're a safe and non-judgmental person and that you have your own issues too. So maybe the next brunch, you bring up something embarrassing about yourself. I'm sure there's something, because we all have something. And I think that's kind of all you can do. And I think you want to be there for them specifically about this issue, but what you might have to settle for is just being there for them emotionally in a more global way. Yeah.
I agree. I'm against pointing out anything that someone might be self-conscious about. Like, I'm not the kind of person who's like, ooh, ouch, when someone has like a big zit,
Oh, yeah, never.
Unless it's something like that you can quickly and easily correct, like your skirt is tucked into your underwear, something like that. Right. I mind my business. That's an unspoken social contract that I believe in.
I think that's so smart. Let the person be the one to bring it up. And if they want to, they will. And they'll probably feel better after talking about it. But if they're in a different state of mind where they just want to pretend it doesn't exist, you got to go with that.
And maybe like put those plastic covers on your car seat.
Yeah, maybe just be like, oh, this is because I had a dog in here. Yeah. Don't mind. Just go ahead and sit on it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the car seat. I guess that's just the cost of friendship. I don't know. And also, I wanted to add one more thing. Don't go and like chat to other friends about this. That's what I think would be really not necessarily mean-spirited, because again, I don't think the letter writer is mean, but I think it would be toxic to go talk behind this person's back to other people.
Or like send it into a podcast or...
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, don't let them. Oh gosh. No, I'm like, did we anonymize this enough? I think we did.
Yeah, it's pretty anonymous, I think.
It would be really hurtful for them to learn that you were speculating or talking behind their back. I think that would be mortifying.
Oh, yeah. And I think like the more time that goes on, like if you don't bring this incident up right when it happens, then you can never talk about it, because the more time that goes on, if it comes up later and they know you were thinking about it and you knew and you didn't say anything, that's even more
another
mortifying.
Kind of lever of betrayal. Yeah, you had it on your mind and you didn't mention it to me. So yeah, letter writer, again, I'm really sorry about your seats. I acknowledge you're a good friend, but there's not a lot you can do here besides just continue to be a good friend. And, maybe one day this person will open up to you. Maybe they'll solve the issue medically on their own. Maybe not, but good luck. You're listening to The Dear Prudence Show. And when we come back, we'll be reading more of your letters. Stay with us. Elevate your romantic retreat with Cozy Earth's luxurious bedding and loungewear, bringing the warmth and intimacy of home wherever your love takes you. Enjoy an exclusive 35% off discount to experience the unmatched softness and indulgent texture of Cozy Earth's bedding. Use the code DEARPRUDENCE at checkout at CozyEarth.com. So I just got my sheets last week, which, by the way, came in a really cute little tote bag that I will be using as a purse. They're super soft. I haven't slept on them, but they've been guest room tested. And my mother-in-law said they were extremely, extremely comfortable and seemed expensive. I've been using the satin pillowcases for protecting my hair at night. So anyone else who doesn't want to damage their curls by sleeping on cotton or something else horrible should definitely try them out. Say goodbye to travel woes with Cozy Earth's travel-friendly bedding. Whether you're exploring exotic destinations or enjoying a cozy staycation at home, Cozy Earth provides everything you need. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer for you and your love. Visit CozyEarth.com today and use code DearPrudence at checkout for an exclusive 35% off. And discover your next destination for ultimate comfort and connection with Cozy Earth.
With everything you have on your plate, earning your degree online seems impossible. But at Grand Canyon University, we specialize in helping you fit a master's degree in education into your busy day. Your graduation team, led by your own GCU counselor, provides you with the personal support you need to succeed. Achieve your goals with a plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
Welcome back to Dear Prudence. I'm here with my guest, Emily McCombs, and the next letter we're going to answer is titled, I'm in this for the right reasons.
I'm 39 and in love with a man who is 67. That's a 28-year age difference. He looks and acts much younger. I was the one who asked him out when we first met and thought he was in his mid-50s. I'm concerned about judgment from others and also a few logistical challenges. For example, he is welcoming his 6th grandchild, and I feel like he is spending time with me and my son and is away from his immediate family. I also get concerned that 67 is different from 77 or 87, and I could be pretty limited in terms of the number of good years I have with him. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings and just feel like he wouldn't fit in with my family. My parents especially would pass judgment, but this love is so hard to pass up. How do I reconcile this unconventional relationship?
Okay, Emily, what do we think about the age difference itself?
You know what? I'm not a hater. Like, I'm not judging. I'm okay with that, but I think she's less comfortable with it,
right,
than she wants us to believe.
Right, but I think we can dispense with any concerns about this being a predatory or weird relationship.
Yeah, she's 39.
Just because,
she's a grown woman.
Right. She's a full-grown adult, and she pursued him. So, I mean, just to confess my bias, I still think the age difference is weird.
Well, you must not have the daddy issues that I have.
So you wouldn't mind a 67-year-old?
I mean, I would have probably some of the same reservations that this person has if it was a serious relationship, but I would definitely consider a 67-year-old.
Okay. It strikes me as weird, but I'm putting that aside because the letter writer says they love him and we're just going to assume the connection is amazing and maybe even they're soulmates. It's a great relationship. So one idea. I'm kind of torn about it. I'm going to give like one idea and then one piece of advice that's opposite. The first one is a general rule for relationships where I think it makes more sense to wait and see how things go than to fret about all the things that could possibly go wrong, right? So I think all the things you're worried about are legitimate, but I'm not reading anything in this letter that says you're currently unhappy. You haven't said that he's expressed that he's resentful that you're taking him away from his family. You haven't said that he can't do certain activities because of his age and you're resentful. You haven't said that he's actually met your siblings and they hated him, or your parents gave you a really hard time. So right now you're happy. Finding someone to date is hard. If you're happy right now, I think maybe one way of looking at it is just enjoy it and keep an eye out for all the problems that you're anticipating. But don't break up based on like borrowed trouble, as they say.
I think that's good advice. I also can't tell if some of these things are actual issues or stories that they're just kind of making up in their head, like you said, like that he's not spending enough time with his family because he's spending time with her. But it also kind of makes me think that they have not had conversations about any of these issues, which I think like if you do have a big age gap relationship, there are going to be, you are in different places in your lives and you do have to be kind of prepared for outside judgment or possibly like issues within the family. And it sounds like they haven't really talked about any of this.
That's such a good point. I wonder what he thinks about all this, right? I mean, because the letter writer is wondering, you know, is it going to be a problem that you're not spending time with your grandchild because you're with my family? Well, what does he think about that? Did he plan to be an involved grandparent? Is he happy with holidays? Is he invited to see his grandchild a lot? Is he going to bring you over there so you can be a step grandparent? But it's such a good point, Emily, and it's one that I overlooked, is that you should talk to the person you're dating, who you think is amazing and you might spend your life with. Like, it's good to have conversations with the actual human you're sharing a relationship with.
Right, because if you're not feeling also like confident and secure in your choices and your commitment to the relationship, then I feel like you're probably going to crumble at the first sign of pushback from society or your family or whoever, which is going to happen. There's going to be judgment.
It's absolutely going to happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
You'll go to a restaurant and someone will ask if you're his daughter, your parents and siblings. If you think they'll have issues, you know them. You've known them your whole life. They probably will have issues. I guess the question is, do you love him and feel connected to him enough that it won't matter? Which brings me to my second opposite piece of advice. If you were really, really happy with him, all these things wouldn't be bothering you. So I can imagine a letter from someone that says, I'm so happy with the 67-year-old man I'm dating. We're soulmates. We get along great. I don't care if he has limited mobility in the future. I don't care if we have to navigate family issues. Everyone's judging us, but they don't know the love we have. And we're the best people for each other. I'm not really getting that enthusiasm, like you said, Emily, that could withstand the criticism and judgment. And I wonder if that's just means there's not enough basic excitement there.
Yeah, I mean, the tone of the letter is more like she's trying to talk herself out of the relationship than it is she's trying to defend it.
I wonder if what happened is that she thought he was in his mid-50s, got to know him a little, learned how old he is, and now she kind of wants out. And again, it sounds like she's trying to talk herself into it.
It does sound like her liking him is sort of based on the idea that you can't tell he's his actual age. Like, oh, he looks younger, he acts younger.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. She likes him because she can't tell, and she knows that she's going to be able to tell. Because again, like she says, 67 is different from 77 or 87, and everyone else will be able to tell too. So it won't be something that she can just ignore.
Right. Like now she's kind of in denial about it. So yeah, address your inner hater. Think about how you feel, and then talk to your man. You love him.
Yeah. And maybe give it a little bit of time. Back to advice, a piece of advice number 1 from me, option A. You don't have to make a decision right now. If you aren't sure, you can wait a little while and see if you actually experience any of the negative things you're worried about. That said, the letter writer's 39, and that is kind of like a sensitive window for reproduction and all that kind of stuff. So you didn't say anything about wanting children, but if you are pressed to have children, that's really important to you, and to do it biologically, maybe you have closer to 6 months than 3 years to figure out the compatibility here.
That was a nice thing about having already adopted my child and being a single mom. It's like that just takes that off the table. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, because that's just a horrible thing to have to think about. And it's, nature and biology are so unfair on that topic and so sexist.
Yes.
And it's not okay that women have to worry about it and men don't. But if that was a really important issue to you, maybe you would have mentioned it. But I did just want to flag that. So yeah, like Emily said, talk to your partner. Give it as much time as makes sense for your relationship timeline. And if by chance you are writing to us for permission to end a relationship because you're anticipating all these problems, like Emily said, dump him. That is 100% okay. You can break up with anyone for any reason.
It's true.
So just remember that. This is Dear Prudence. We need to take a break, but when we come back, more letters from you and advice from us. Stay tuned. I'm Jenée, and you're listening to Dear Prudence. Emily and I are about to tackle our last letter for the day. You ready, Emily?
I am so ready.
This letter is titled More Than Having a Week.
My friend B is fun, loyal, and kind. We have been friends for about 10 years, but in the last year or so, she has become palpably unreliable. She has always been late when we meet up, but recently she won't be ready to go until hours after our initial plans were set for. I'll invite her over, call and text, not hear from her all afternoon, and as I'm getting into my pajamas, I'll get a message that she's on her way. When I held my birthday at a restaurant and I agreed to give her a ride, she was so late getting ready that I was the last one to arrive at my own event. I have noticed that B's unreliability has coincided with what seems like a downturn in her emotional well-being, and I believe that the two are probably related. I had become aware of the change in her, but thought I would just learn to navigate it rather than confront it. Real emotional agility, I realize. I didn't really understand the extent to which B's dependability had eroded, however, until this past month when we decided to throw a joint party. We have done these types of events in the past, usually at my house because it's a bigger space, but she has always come over early in the morning and shared equally in the cost, shopping, planning, and setup. This year, I couldn't get a hold of her for days leading up to the event, and the day of, I was left getting things ready with help from my husband and another friend with no help, input, or even a peep from her. For all I knew, she had disappeared off the face of the earth when we were supposed to be hosting about 30 people in a matter of hours. An hour before the party was supposed to start, she called me and began apologizing profusely, explaining that she just had such a week and she was so overwhelmed. I told her not to worry about it, to just get here and we could discuss it later. She showed up 2 hours into the party, empty-handed, and spent half of the rest of the party sobbing about her miserable week. The only thing I'll give her credit for is that she made clear to our guests that I deserve the credit for this party and that she hadn't been a contributor this time. But because it took the form of her basically going up to our guests and saying a variation of, "Em is such an angel and I'm such a garbage human for dropping the ball," even this took on a frustrating aspect. I didn't want to hold on to my anger about the situation with our friends and family there, and when she seemed to be having a particularly hard time. And so I told her there were no hard feelings, let's just put it behind us and enjoy the evening. We haven't discussed it since. The other consistency with B's habitual unreliability is her apologies. She will always give one, so it's pretty clear she's aware that the behavior is not fully okay, but it's always accompanied with excuses about how awful things have been going for her and self-effacing remarks about herself. A run-of-the-mill B apology goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm so late, totally not okay, it's just been a week." She says this almost every week. "I'm such a hot mess, wait until I tell you everything that's been going wrong." Her apologies put me in a position where I feel like it's more important to minister to her feelings than to reach a place of mutual understanding. Prudence, I realized that I didn't have to accept these apologies from B without having harder conversations and without enabling this behavior further, but I did. I also put myself in a situation where I was relying on B when there was a pretty clear pattern that doing so wasn't a sound bet. I set myself up to be let down. I'll own that. But going forward, this is not how I want to conduct our friendship anymore. B asked recently why we don't see each other more, and the answer is because I can only take so much when being her friend takes this kind of patience and flexibility. I love and care about her, and I want us to go back to a relationship where I can count on her. I feel that this problem is symptomatic of B needing some kind of greater support. But what could that be? And is this problem an appropriate jumping off point for a conversation about her overall well-being and how it's impacting our relationship? Any advice for how the next time she lets me down, I can start a conversation about some new expectations, especially if the launching place for that conversation is another groveling apology?
Okay, Emily, if you had to take a guess about what's going on with Bia, what would you say? Drugs,
Drug
anxiety?
problem, yeah.
Really? Okay, I was also going to include ADHD and just not caring, but you're going with drugs.
Well, I'm a recovering addict, so I might be like a little biased there, but it sounds like her life is really unmanageable. I don't know, but yeah, if I had to take a guess, given that they've been friends for a long time and that this is like a recent and very big change in B's behavior, I thought substance abuse, I thought mental health issue, I thought some kind of trauma. But either way, I thought something's really wrong.
That's such a good point because, and I actually didn't pick up on that. She hasn't always been this way. Because we all have friends who have always been like this, right? Just, flaky people. Sometimes we can blame it on an astrological sign or something, or just the way they are. Chronically late people. But this did come out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, I think whatever the root of the behavior is, something's going on, right?
Yeah.
And the letter writer is choosing to just sort of skirt around the behavior instead of asking what's really going on with her friend.
Here you go again, giving me the advice that I didn't think of, which is talk to the person. I don't know
well,
why.
That's kind of always the advice, right? Like 97% of the time, it's like communicate with the person.
Yeah. I think I skip over it because I know that it's hard. I know those confrontation-like conversations are tough. But yeah, I think, is anything going on with you? Are you struggling with something? You keep talking about having bad weeks, week after week. What's happening would be a really smart question to ask.
Well, something else that I picked up on is like, okay, so the actual question the letter writer asks, it's like, how can I set new expectations in our relationship? And that's not the conversation that I really think she needs to be having first. I think it's not setting new expectations for their friendship, but it's, hey, your behavior's really changed. Your emotional well-being seems like it's also changed. Like, what's really going on? Do you need help? Like, what's happening? And she keeps talking about these situations that are like crowded, high-pressure social things. Like, it's my birthday party at a restaurant. It's this event we usually plan together with 30 people. And to me, like, that's not a setting where... First of all, that's a setting that could be really hard for someone who's struggling to show up and navigate.
Definitely.
But it's also not a setting where you can have a serious conversation with their friend about what's going on with them.
Right, even if they're apologizing profusely.
Yeah, so maybe the groveling apologize and saying it's been such a week thing is a way of deflecting in these big group situations with a mixed, acquaintances where she doesn't feel comfortable or it wouldn't be appropriate to talk about what's really going on.
So what would you suggest? A suggestion to hang out and get coffee or come over and watch Netflix? Something one-on-one and really mellow?
Low pressure where you're not expecting any particular, there's a lot of expectations in these other situations. Of being able to deliver some things that, like, she's obviously not capable of doing right now.
Yeah. Have you ever had a friend like this, or have you ever been this friend?
Yeah, I think I'm like this to some extent because I do have ADHD. Like, I do struggle with time management. And there's also kind of a thing, like, in recovery circles, we talk about feeling like the piece of shit at the center of the universe. Which is just so like, funny. It's like simultaneously thinking you're a terrible person, but also a very narcissistic idea that sort of you're the most terrible person and everything revolves around how terrible you are and everyone's paying attention to you, which that's kind of what the apologies made me think of.
Right. If you are doing similar behaviors to this friend and it's really bothering someone, what would you want them to say to you?
I think it's to this extent of unmanageability. It just feels like there's something bigger going on to me.
Yeah.
And I think just like to be mad that B is sort of saying it's just a week. To me, you're not going to explain to the 30-person event if you're having a traumatic issue, something traumatic happened to you, or you are struggling with depression or anxiety or having a problem with alcoholism or another substance. You're not going to go around and tell everyone at the 30-person event that. You have to give her space to be able to confide in you.
Yeah. And I think if hopefully she opens up and says what's really wrong. And if she doesn't, obviously it sounds like you still do want to be friends with her and you would just like to not be frustrated and pissed off all the time. So I think if you don't get anywhere with the what's really wrong conversation, I think you could go back and say, okay, well, you did ask why we didn't see each other more. And the real answer is it's just been frustrating to me when you're late or flaky or unreachable. And I know you mean well, and I know you always apologize, but even that becomes difficult because I feel like I have to take care of your feelings. So I still want to see you. Let's plan to do it in lower stakes ways where you don't feel as much pressure and I don't feel as much anxiety about the event being ruined or missing it if you're not able to be there on time.
Agree, 1,000%.
Yeah, no, first of all, do not give a flaky person a ride to your own birthday party. That's a horrible idea. Never do anything like that again. Don't plan joint parties. In fact, don't do anything that has a time frame on it. If it's really bad, you could even not make her the only person you're hanging out with. You could be with another friend and say, okay, we'll be at this party or this park or this beach or this coffee shop. Feel free to come by. I'd love to see you. That way you're never left high and dry. And she doesn't have to give a massive apology and feel like the piece of shit at the center of the universe if she doesn't show up.
Yeah, I think it's also another piece of unsolicited advice I like to give is that, resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for someone else to die. I do think that the first conversation needs to be had is what's happening. Are you okay? What's going on? But yeah, at that point, if the person doesn't want to open up to you, if it is a substance abuse issue, somebody doesn't necessarily want to tell you that because they don't want to stop what they're doing necessarily.
If it's a mental health issue, they might not know they're having it, Right,
that's also
They might not
true.
necessarily be aware, yeah.
So I think if you don't get anywhere with that, setting the actual boundaries instead of just waving everything off and saying that it's okay and then quietly resenting someone, you're not really fixing the friendship, and you're certainly not hurting anyone but yourself by keeping that inside and saying it's not a problem, it's no big deal, and then it's your own mental health and your own quality of life that suffers.
You want to set both of you up for success. It's like when you have a little kid who's 2 or 3 years old, you're not going to bring them to a conference where they're expected to sit and take notes the whole time because they're going to get upset, then you're going to get upset, and everyone's going to feel like it was a failure. Like you bring them to a park or somewhere that works for them. Even if you're not able to address the underlying issue, there's a way to keep the friendship by setting yourselves up for success. Lower stakes situations. She's not feeling rushed and horrible about herself. You're not feeling bitter and resentful. And hopefully there's still a piece of the relationship that you can both enjoy.
And also, if you do sense that something is wrong, but she doesn't seem to want to talk about it, it leaves that door open for the time when she does want to talk about it or the time that she does need help. You're still there. You're still someone they can call.
Especially if you've presented yourself as the person who wants to help and find a way for her to succeed, not the person who's, still holding on to bitterness that she made you late for the birthday party.
Right, because nobody feels good about disappointing people. And it gets harder and harder to reach out, I think, when you know that you've sort of disappointed someone and someone might be resentful or upset with you.
Absolutely. So make sure you keep the door open. Those are all the questions we have for this week. It's been fun and hopefully helpful. Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you, Jenée.
Fantastic advice. Read the pieces she writes and edits at HuffPost Personal and follow her on Instagram at Emily McCombs. Do you need help getting along with partners, relatives, coworkers, and people in general? Write to me. Go to slate.com/Prudie. That's slate.com/PRUDIE. The Dear Prudence column publishes every Thursday.
If you'd like to hear your question answered on the podcast, we are looking for letter writers who would be comfortable recording their questions for the show. You can stay anonymous.
Dear Prudence is produced by Se'era Spragley Ricks and me, Jenée Desmond-Harris, with a special thanks to Maura Currie. Editorial help from Paola De Verona. Daisy Rosario is senior supervising producer, and Alicia Montgomery is Slate's VP of audio. I'm your Dear Prudence, Jenée Desmond-Harris. Until next time.
Ah, the sizzle of McDonald's sausage. It's enough to make you crave your favorite breakfasts. Enough to head over to McDonald's. Enough to make you really wish this commercial were scratch and sniff.
And if you're a sausage person, now get 2 satisfyingly savory sausage McGriddles, sausage biscuits, or sausage burritos for just $3.33. Or mix and match. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.